5000 and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca Jorge, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samas, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Yo, Grand Slam tennis is back. Rafa Nadal is sort of back at the French Open, and that's actually what we're going to start from, because besides the matches today, we had the tribute that was organized there for Rafa. Obviously, last year was kind of unceremonious in a way, even though he lost to Zverev. It was the opening round. Personally, I didn't watch it. I was just getting frustrated that my man Vitko Pshiva is one game away, and my whole timeline is talking about Rafa Nadal. But Vansh, I mean, how did you enjoy this? And was it better than the previous versions of Rafa Farewell that we got?
Well, to answer your last question, yeah, it absolutely was. It was nothing like Malaga. It was nothing like RG last year. It obviously, we had the farewell that he had in Rome. That was also pretty cool, especially the setting with the fans and everything. That was nice, and also the Olympics moment. But we didn't have one at RG, which is literally the court that personifies Rafa more than any other. So based on all of that, my expectations were low. So I was I was definitely surprised by how well it was organized and planned. And, I think definitely having all the big four together really kind of added that extra color and touch that I think you really need. And obviously there were a lot of, cool pictures and videos that came from that. Also, Carlos and Iga were in the crowd as well, so that was cool to see. And then they were all wearing that Merci Rafa shirt, and it was all coordinated and perfectly planned. I did not watch the part where he was talking because I was trying to figure out if I could put it on one screen where I could see it. And then being from the States, the coverage is a little different this year on TNT Sports. But then I managed to turn it on right at the time when the big four were together on the stage, and he was being presented the trophy, and then he was addressing them. So I thought that was pretty neat. And then obviously having the plaque on the side of the net that has his footprint on it, that's pretty cool. That's going to stay there forever, or at least however length of time that unbreakable record will remain, right? So that was cool. That was a good touch. And then the whole thing, Rafa obviously was super emotional. I'm sure people watching were. So yeah, overall it was one of the best tributes I've seen. Yeah, don't really have any complaints about it. It was very well done. I think we have lost Damien for the meantime, so maybe I will just keep talking. Yeah, I mean, and also at the end, his son was there as he said farewell. So I think he's like 2.5, almost 3. So at some point he'll look back on this and think that was a very cool moment. And then we also had videos of his son meeting the other members of the Big Four. So that was all cool and stuff. Yeah, as far as the ceremony goes, I think they really nailed it. In general, I feel like Paris knows how to celebrate Rafa with the Olympics last year, getting the holding the torch from Zayn Zidane, and then also this moment right here. So yeah, I think that was a good way to start the tournament, and it was done right in the middle of the day and night session, so just before Shelton and Sonego took the court. And yeah, so as as far as the ceremony goes, yeah, I think that pretty much summarizes it. And then the actual tennis, I think we had some good stories today, but mostly it's with these Sunday start, it's going to be a little bit slower to begin. But yeah, I guess now Damien is back. So yeah, I think I just
In terms of what you were talking about, obviously it's nice that he got that sort of sent off, the whole Big Four showing up as like this sort of Avengers like thing. And yeah, the plaque I think is definitely a very cool thing. I do have to mention that pretty much the only other record that is as unbreakable is Talon Hrikspor's 8 challenger titles in a season, because that's like almost impossible mathematically now that if you win, let's say 6, you're not going to be playing challengers anymore. But well, that's all that I can really say in terms of Rafa. But we did have a pretty interesting poll, right, that we can talk about. I don't know if you already mentioned that or not. I don't know which options were obviously presented in the poll, but of course there are more or less 14 options anyway. Well, not even more or less, exactly, since we are talking about which Rafa title at Roland Garros was the most impressive. And I actually have an answer that is not even part of the poll. So, well, first of all, Vansh, what is your idea on this?
Well, I guess I'm very mainstream because I immediately was thinking 2022, only because of the doubts that he had coming in, and that he couldn't really walk against Shapovalov, and then also he was getting injections before every match, basically, pretty much during the fortnight, and then he beat Djokovic. He survived that physical war against Zverev. He crushed Ruud in the final. Even 5 sets against Felix. So there were a lot of moments where he other mortal athletes would not have won that tournament. So for me, that's maybe the most impressive, because for the first time he was in a dominant period, in a dominant season, where he was getting by these matches and just kind of on his last leg. So for me, that's probably the one. I also thought of maybe 2013, but I couldn't really, just maybe with the injury in 2012, and then also the match with Djokovic, and then all the others to me are kind of more one-sided. I guess there's an argument for 2005, 2008 was there, but yeah, I want to hear yours now.
2011, I wanted to go for, which is pretty funny. Isner 5-setter in the opening round. That happens so rarely to Rafa to even go more than 3 sets in the opening round. And then I think it's also the best match that Federer played against him at Roland Garros. And he like miraculously wins the opening set from 2-5 and set point down. And obviously wins the match in 4. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the potential options. 13, I guess, was also pretty nice in the fact that the first 2 rounds, he loses sets to, players that usually in Roland Garros, he just completely dominates. And then he like plays himself into the event. But the final against Ferrer kind of takes it, takes some magic away from me. I think 2000 for me. Also 2017, that was another one where he was just like barely dropping any points games. I guess we had 2 very dominant slam runs that year, one from Roger and one from Rafa. And they were both like impressive in how dominant they were. Obviously didn't drop a set, but also the competition wasn't at at its strongest right there. So I guess I see that argument too. But yeah, I mean the one in 2022, just because of what was happening to him during the warm-up swing, also some of the matches he played along the way. Zverev, if he doesn't twist his ankle, who knows? But yeah, I mean, maybe this is also another one that just kind of the fact that the final was so forgettable takes a little magic away from that. But yeah, I mean, obviously there are a few options. The ones from the 2000s, I mean, to me, they kind of blend together in many ways. You've got 4 in a row. Every single time there's pretty much just like one memorable match, and that's against Federer for one reason or another, because in 2008 it's memorable for being so short. I guess there's like the Mathieu 2006 clash. There's probably a few others, but they do kind of blend together for me, which is also because I wasn't following them live at the time.
Yeah, interesting. As you were talking, I kind of just realized there's probably one underrated RG that he won, which is 2014. Because coming into that clay swing, throughout the whole clay swing, he wasn't that dominant. Like, he lost to Almagro in Barcelona. He lost to Ferrer in Monte Carlo, who he pretty much never loses to. And then in Madrid, he was kind of lucky to beat Nishikori in the final. And then he loses to Djokovic in Rome. By that time, he started to get his level back. But coming in, there was some doubts, also because he had injured his back in Australia, and some of that 2013, he wasn't playing at the same level that he was in 2013 for sure. And it was kind of the
Yeah,
last.
I mean that's true, but that's just like one match against Novak, right? That is
and then also the
impressive, yeah.
quarterfinals, I think he struggled with Ferrer for about 2 sets.
Yeah, but
Before
it's still...
finally he then he ran away with it. And then he had the one-sided match against Murray. But then the first 2 sets against Djokovic were also kind of up in the balance. He started not feeling that great towards the end of the fourth. So there was a little bit of drama, at least in that tournament and run. Like, it wasn't a foregone conclusion. I think many people were actually picking Djokovic to win it that year. Whereas I don't think that was the case in 13 or 12 or maybe in 11. Maybe some people were picking Djokovic.
11, Novak was definitely the favorite going into the French.
Yeah.
I mean, he had just defeated Rafa a couple of times on clay and was on that incredible win streak. But of course, we didn't get that showdown in the end, so that's also kind of...
But I think that's probably one campaign that doesn't get as much talk, I would say.
Sure. I don't hate that at all. I think kind of similar, like the ones from the 2000s blend together for me. There's also the latter patch of like 17 to 20, when again, I don't feel like it was the strongest competition, really. Dominic Thiem was the second best player in the world, really, on clay at the time. And he could only go like, 2 sets with Rafa in one of the finals at like full intensity. Yeah. So these I would kind of also just not really like include. And probably for me, the answer would be either, the last one or one of these more, early 2000s vibes. Is that all we have to say right now on the Rafa farewell?
Yeah. Anything else to add about the ceremony from your point of view? I mean, you didn't really watch it, but
I didn't watch. Like, I saw photos from it. So
yeah.
I mean, I was just focused on the tennis. I watched that Tsonga retirement ceremony, I remember, because it was right after the match.
Yeah.
But here, because it was just like, I would actually have to turn it on, make the effort. No, I wasn't really ready to do that. If it was right after the Zverev match last year, I probably would have watched it,
yeah.
But then again, they weren't ready with it. With Tsonga, they were expecting that he's probably going to lose to Kasper, right? Whereas with Rafa, I suppose they had to be like, we don't know what's going to happen, really. So, I mean, if so, then we should probably just sort of switch to... No, Faria might get a similar ceremony in Estoril, but even that will be a bit of a problem because Joao Sousa got that, but Pedro Sousa didn't, or like Gustavo Elias won't get it. So I think that's maybe more what we're aiming for with Jaime, right? Rather than a Joao Sousa-like career. Nuno might get it in Estoril, especially if he wins the event at some point, which John would love and would pose him a few more questions like he did in Estoril, which were kind of, let's say, pretty bold. Anyway, never mind. That's not the most important thing right now. Roland Garros today. Let's start talking about the men's draw. We will be mentioning the upsets on the women's side later. On the men's, I guess we didn't really have any like result that stands out right away. But we did have a few classics. I mean, what do you think is like maybe the most important story that we had emerge today?
On the men's side? I mean, on the women's side, we already know. But on the men's, I suppose Juan Manuel Cerundolo won a match in straight sets over Mickelson. So, Cerundolo winning is probably not like super surprising, but the scoreline for sure. The fact that it was like kind of so dominant and I don't think he had won a match here before, right?
He didn't play. He never played a match at Roland Garros.
This was his first time here.
Yeah, that was the only slam he never played yet. Of course, even though it's his favorite surface, even though he's an ATP 250 champion on clay. Mickelson, I mean, it honestly just... I mean, this is a level of atrocious performance that you are gonna struggle to reach. I mean, the guy just looked completely out of ideas. Cerundolo was conducting an orchestra. Like, Cerundolo was just playing Für Elise or whatever, and Mickelson was there, just like literally was there on the court, and I don't know what he was doing. He was like deer in the headlights type of thing. I don't know. It's in Estoril, he said it himself as well after the tournament that like he suddenly found that balance, right? He knew what to do on clay at any given moment, any particular rally, and the next 2 events are like that. I mean, I actually did like. I think I mean, I definitely picked Cerundolo to win, but not like that. Jesus.
Yeah, not like that score, because it was never close. It was as bit one-sided as the score suggested, and he was like really struggling. Like his movement was off. Like his shot selection was all over the place. He had like no rally tolerance. And like the parts that I was watching, I was like, Cerundolo is playing good, but nothing like special. Nothing that would justify the tennis that Mickelson was playing, which was pretty bad. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely, in let's say in good control of the game, of the match. Cerundolo, he did well, but he also had an opponent who like was completely out of ideas, to a point where it's really tough to compete when you're playing like this. I guess there were a few other seeds that lost. Mahaj retires again.
Yeah, that's definitely now a big trend, right? Since the U.S. Open, I think it's like his 9th walkover or retirement, 8 retirements, 1 walkover. So at this point, you kind of have to investigate or question, like, what is actually going on with these injuries and retirements. Is it that he's actually like, does it suggest some longer chronic issue, or is it more just like individually he's not like maybe fighting or tough enough to fight through the pain? Like, I generally don't know. So
I mean, it wasn't really like that throughout his career, right? I'm not saying he's been the most injury-free player ever, but at the same time, you don't see him retiring. I don't know if you look back at his records in 2022, 23. He's not retiring 5 times a season.
No.
So this is definitely new. And what is exactly the reason for it? We don't really know. But yeah, today I was just like talking to a Mahaj fan in Twitter DMs, and he was saying something like how can you think that Alice is going to win this match, traitor, or something like that? And I'm just like, I'm sorry, but we can basically start placing bets on like when is Mahaj going to retire, which set. And I suggested set number 4. He actually retired at set number 2, so he was even quicker than I anticipated. But yeah, that's unfortunate that even though the quality is still there, I don't know if he's still in the top 10 according to Eala, as he was for a while. But like literally the guy is only losing because he's injured recently. We don't actually see him playing that well. So playing that poorly. So yeah, I mean it's a shame, but it's also not exactly something that we didn't anticipate going into this event, considering he also retired in Geneva last week. Well, another seed that lost is going to be a bit of a disappointment for you, especially, but Mr. Brandon Nakashima, number 28. I saw somebody who was saying in my comments that like Brandon has been just awful on clay or something like that. I don't really I don't really agree with that. But nonetheless, I think we talked about this too, that Mariano Navone, despite being ranked 98, it's not like he's playing that much worse than last year. Just a few matches, tight, especially scenarios that didn't really go his way. And, he's still a top 50 at least clay court player in my book.
Yeah, when I saw this draw, I was like, this is a really bad draw for Brandon, because Navone is going to get a lot of balls back. He's just going to be super tough from the baseline of both wings. And Nakashima won't be able to get the free points that he does on his serve against some other players, even on clay. And he got outserved. He got outserved by Mariano. So when that happens, there's not really like a path to victory for him at this point. And sets 3 and 4 were especially pretty one-sided, to where, like he didn't have many ideas what to do out there, Brandon. The first 2 sets, he was still pretty competitive. It was a good effort to win the second. The first set was kind of imbalanced for most of it. They were breaking each other more or less 2 or 3 times each. And then, but sets 3 and 4, that's where you could kind of see the gap between like the hardcore clay quarter with so much confidence and so many, like he has so much confidence even though he hasn't been winning a ton. But I think that's mostly, we were talking about it, like his ranking is not really reflective of the quality that he has and how good he is on his surface, because he still has the pedigree for sure. And it's just that he couldn't defend those points in Rio and the Golden Swing. So yeah, that's a tough one. But honestly, I think grass will be better for Brandon, and he's still putting together. He's still playing like a guy about 30 in the world. I think his clay court results were fine before this. Madrid and Rome was pretty successful for him for the most part. So I don't think there's like a need to panic for Brandon. Nothing like that. But yeah, 2 first round losses in the slams and 2 tough draws in Shelton and Navone this year.
Yeah, someone in my comments as well suggested that, like, would it be crazy to think that Navone might reach the semis? And I had to reply, yes. But Vansh, right now, do you think I'm still crazy for suggesting Medjedovic might make the quarters?
No, actually, you're not. You're not. Like that section is wild. Like anybody could come through that. Anybody,
But,
like
you know,
4,
after
5,
getting
6
through
games.
one round, also avoiding Mikkelsen, I mean,
Yeah,
he looks like a, I don't know, top 3 contender for that quarterfinal spot there. I'm not
sure.
even, like, kidding.
Yeah, let me see how Fritz looks tomorrow, and then after that, like, probably have more data. But yeah, I think
What if
today was
Taylor
very good.
Fritz is just gonna lose to Daniel Altmaier tomorrow?
Yeah, then he hasn't even then he has a good chance to get to the quarters. I mean, like anybody from like that section, like it's basically a Houston 250 with Medjedovic and and who else, like
Yeah, I mean, the
Comesaña and
Houston 250
Navone.
thing, it's just the Americans, right? Like, other than the
Yeah,
Americans, the other players would never play Houston ATP 250. Maybe
right.
Darderi, but like that's it really. So it's just the Americans, but there's a ton of Americans in that section. I mean,
Yeah,
not as many anymore because Mikkelsen lost, but nonetheless.
yeah. Do you think Mickelson was like somebody he had to avoid?
No, but it probably, like, I was just assuming that in your mind it's going to make it a little bit more achievable for him.
It's possible, yeah. I could see him getting to the quarters. So
Yeah,
yeah,
when he does,
it'll
I'm
be
definitely gonna find that screenshot from the group chat and
okay.
post it on
Yeah, yeah.
Twitter or something like that. I think it's something like Vansh asking, who is probably making the quarters here, and I just say,
Yeah.
"Isn't it obvious?" And he says, "Please don't say Medvedev." So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that looks pretty possible now that he's gotten his first Grand Slam major win today. And well, I'm not even saying it was like a spectacular performance or anything, but good to get this out of the way. And the draw is looking pretty open. But of course, we still haven't seen the highest seed in that section, who is indeed Taylor Fritz. What other stories do we have here? I mean, we just had Shelton and Sonego go into a 5-setter. I guess it was a nice narrative there because obviously they played the Australian Open quarterfinals and now they meet in the opening round here.
Yeah, that was probably the match that I thought was gonna go 5. Just based on the way both guys play, and so I knew it was most likely going to be uneven, where they were going to each have sets that they were the ones in control. And yeah, like we didn't get a single set where they were both kind of playing super well at the same time all the way through. We had some crucial like 7th game, 6 games in sets, like the third set where it was like that really long 3-all game, and then Shelton got broken twice. So at that point, you kind of worried for him a little bit, down 2-1 against a fired up opponent. But then the last 30 to 45 minutes, he played like much more disciplined and he played much more controlled, and he wasn't going for outrageous forehands from the middle of the court, pulling the trigger. And he was actually like serving with a little bit more accuracy and placement. And like he was able to he played like the last 2 sets like a seasoned top pro who understands how to manage best of 5. So from that standpoint, it's pretty encouraging. Like, I mean, sure, like I'm not expecting him to make it a semi-final or anything at this tournament, but getting to like the 4th round would be like a pretty amazing result. And then he would have like reached the second week of all the slams already, and he plays much better in best of 5 and best of 3, and this match kind of shows why.
There's a certain Greek there in that section who will have something to say about that, probably.
In the 3rd round, right? It's
yeah.
Potential Tsitsipas clash.
But of course, Gaston or Blanchet in the 2nd round for Ben, that's not bad at all. And he might just be able to use it. We will see. Tommy Paul lost a set to Elmer Miller, but after that, it was kind of smooth sailing. I mean, that's probably more or less what everybody expected for this match. Like, it's just kind of impossible for Elmer at this stage to maintain like that aggression with enough consistency against somebody who's, this athletic, this quick. But it wasn't a great start from Tommy either way. Well, nice for Elmer to get good experience, I suppose. It's not really like a match that changes my opinion on how Paul is going to do at this event. I mean, he's probably just a good candidate to win a few matches. and even with that sloppy start, he was able to navigate the match. Just, wasn't, I guess, as amazing as some people would have expected.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tommy is like, I came into this tournament thinking like, yeah, he could get to the fourth round. He could win some matches. I had him as like one of the top 10 contenders. It would be interesting to see if he plays Ruud, plays Hachanov even in the third round. That would be a big test. So if he can get by Hachanov and Ruud, then he's maybe the most interesting opponent to face Carlos there in that quarterfinal. So that's me kind of jumping ahead. But next he'll also play Fucsovic, and maybe that will be a similar-ish type match where, maybe Martin can take a set or something, and then Paul can just kind of, his all-court game will just be too much. But yeah, these are like it's still like a tough road ahead. Like Muller, Fucsovic, Hachanov, Ruud to get there. But yeah, two-time Rome semifinalist. He looked pretty good after dropping the first set, and yeah, good for Muller to get that like experience because he's a fun player to watch.
Ramesh, we were not. I mean, Alcaraz was not supposed to play today, like as in the day that we are talking about. He is playing on day 2 against Giulio Zappieri, so it was not cancelled. What else? This one I'm interested to hear your thoughts about, because I know one of the players you were thinking had a potential chance to make the quarterfinals in that whole crazy section that we were talking about was Francisco Comesaña. And for him to lose here to Pablo Carreño Busta in straight sets, that's a massively disappointing result, even if PCB is a 2-time quarterfinalist.
Yeah, that was a little that was a little bit surprising for me that he lost in straights. Obviously, it was a close last 2 sets, but Pablo was just like so much more disciplined, and Comesaña, like with his shot selection, he wasn't constructing the points as well as I thought he might. I think he kind of sensed some opportunities in sets 2 and 3. He had some looks, certainly had his chances in the end of the second set. He had like a set point before the tiebreak. I think he missed an easy forehand, so then it could have been 1 set all. And then he served for the third set too. So kind of sets 2 and 3 like really just ran away from him, and he didn't start well at all either. So I think he'll be pretty disappointed by this, because yeah, I was legit thinking that he could maybe be the guy in this section to sneak out, because I was so impressed by him in the Golden Swing, and then also some matches in the European Clay Swing too. So yeah, I still think he has a lot of ability, but I'm probably just not quite ready yet to make the next step, I think, after you see a performance like this.
Is PCB only playing clay now? I mean, not at all. In fact, it's definitely like the worst conditions for him right now compared to hard courts, of course, and grass. He's never won a match at Wimbledon, but he won a round in Australia. He won back-to-back challengers in Tenerife and hard courts in February. Recently been looking pretty rough physically in all these clay battles, like against Buruchaga, or I don't know, earlier in the season, Gakov even was also overwhelming him so much. So yeah, for Fran not to even push him and to have all these chances to win the second or the third set, not to take them. Yeah, he won the opening round at the Australian Open. So that's really not going to be like a pleasant result for Fran. I don't know if I was as sold as you were on like him being one of these potential quarterfinalists, but I think I also mentioned that yesterday on ATP Weekly, that he's in the mix somewhere. I was assuming that it was going to be a long match where he eventually just starts getting some sort of an edge, somewhat physically, but also just because, he has a great game, athleticism, shot making and everything. But yeah, that's a bit of a yuck type of performance from him as well. Candidate for that, along with Mikkelsen, I guess, from the players we've talked so far, for like the worst performance of the day. Giovanni Pecci Pericard winning a tiebreak from 0-5 down. That was something pretty special.
That was pretty crazy, actually. 7 points in a row. I saw that. And yeah, good for him to get a win here. I mean, he's coming in with some momentum, at least with the challenger title and everything. But he could probably get to the third round. Who does he play next? He plays Jumor, I think, right? So that's certainly winnable for him. And then and then that potential match with Carlos in the third round. So yeah, that's good. If he lives up to his seeding, I feel like that'll be a successful tournament for him.
It was generally a day, I would say, of a lot of players not taking their chances, and Zizou Bergs was one of them. I mean, you could see all the things that I talked about on the ATP Weekly yesterday, for example, where like against Basiashvili, Petri Pericard was just allowed to move behind the baseline and just like survive in the rallies, even though he's a giant. And against Bergs, he can't do that, right? Because Zizou will like attack the net and actually finish off the point in some other way than just blasting another full power ground stroke. And yeah, I mean, to lose that third set tiebreak, that basically killed his chances. So that's all you can do there, really. Ghosty, I mean, PCB is still winning matches. As I said, back-to-back challenger titles in February. So 3 wins is probably just the ATP Tour / tour level or whatever. But obviously, we should count it all. Let's go. Anyway, is there anything more? I mean, Musetti is like kind of probably the one of the big favorites of the cluster that we were talking about of, let's say, 6, 7, 8 players that could potentially win the event, especially if Sinner Alcaraz don't do it for some reason. He is probably the only guy that started today, and it was as routine of a start as you would probably expect, and he won't be disappointed about Galan having to win a 4-hour, 27-minute clash to get to play him either.
Yeah, I was hoping to catch some of this match, but then Lorenzo was so quick to finish the job in sets 2 and 3 that I didn't actually get to see how his form looks. But everything that I read, it suggested that he was pretty comfortable and pretty straightforward. And it's a good start of a tournament that honestly he should be making the semis in, based on his draw and everything and form coming in.
Holger.
Oh yeah, Holger in the 4th round. Yeah, let's not.
That's
forget
the one
about him.
problem. Like that's the one match where if he loses before the semis, I'm saying okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these are similar seeding, similar caliber players. But if he loses in anything else, yeah, it's disappointing. It's a harsh standard, but that's the kind of draw he got, and obviously top 8 seeding finally.
Yeah, definitely good to mention Holger there. I guess I probably just didn't. I probably just overlooked him because I'm like, oh, if he gets to the 4th round, that'll be good. But yeah, obviously, if they play each other, that's like a totally 50-50 match right now.
Yeah, if they both get there in good physical shape, I suppose that is indeed the case. Well, we just watched also our first 2 sets to love down comeback of the day. That was the match that ended today's action. Nuno Borges staying alive against Jacquet. Was 1-3 down in the 4th. Really not easy, but I guess as long as you pull it off, a win's a win. And there are a few matches today as well that were like, a win's a win, especially maybe Kopshiva over Monteiro, where he was trying to secure that first Grand Slam win, and 2 break points to serve for the match in the 3rd set, 3 match points in the 4th set. But well, whatever, you get through, and he gets a match against Altmaier or Fritz out of that, which will be quite exciting, regardless of who pulls through. Actually, who was I talking about earlier? Borges as well. But yeah, I mean, he probably will play Casper, so that's much tougher.
Yeah, it probably ends for him against Casper, but it was good to like pull through this. Yeah, especially because he has made some slam runs to the 2nd week, right? He's made a couple already. I mean, definitely one in Australia, right? Maybe US Open too. So I guess both the hardcourt slams, he's been to the 4th round.
Yeah. US Open, I think maybe was it the 4th as well? I mean,
Yeah,
Australia was definitely the 4th because he matched Joao Sousa. Yeah. But yeah, obviously we also have some comments from Yogi about Hungarians and Hungarian commentary, and also the Hungarian players who managed to pull it off. Fucsovics, I mean, had the easiest draw in the event, or one of the easiest draws in the event, so that was kind of like a foregone conclusion. Marozsan, less so, but still a pretty clear favorite over Nardi. Somebody yesterday at ATP Weekly was saying that Marozsan will lose to Nardi and that he doesn't believe in Marozsan. Maybe it was Jean, but well, he's not here, so we cannot laugh in his face. But yeah, very nice one for the Hungarians. Of course, Fabi might have a matchup with Alcaraz, which always will bring up that Rome memory. and Fucsovics, we already said, will play Tommy Paul. Anything more on the men's side, or should we move on?
I guess also Brooksby winning in 4. That was a good win. And I'm looking at that section and I'm like, all of a sudden with Tiafoe there and Tiafoe PCB winner to play Brooksby and probably like Darderi or Korda, like that, like if Brooksby made the 4th round, would that like be super surprising?
I mean, I think Darderi is probably
Probably.
Let's just say I think Darderi is probably the favorite over Korda, and then Darderi is probably just gonna make the 4th round.
Yeah, Francis over PCB.
Probably, yeah.
Francis probably wins. Francis and Darderi, and I mean, actually Darderi has beaten Francis, right? I feel like they played each other recently, and Darderi has won.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably
it was 0-4 against Brooksby. Okay, I didn't remember that. Of course, recently they played the Houston final. But...
Yeah, he got totally outfoxed in that one. Or I guess outsmarted.
But that's basically what we're gonna do. Well, Ghosty, you would actually be surprised how much I know about Hungarian politics. They do come up here in Poland quite a lot. Perhaps not my favorite country in terms of how it's run, but definitely one of my favorite countries to visit. But yeah, I think with that we have to move on to the women's side, where of course we have some matches from the top half. And well, I mean, if we were talking about Musetti being like the biggest favorite who was on the court, here we had the number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, kicking off action on Philippe Chatrier, I believe. And it was also a very routine, no time wasted type of start.
Yeah, good start. I didn't see any of it. Too early and too quick.
Yeah, it wasn't too early for me, but I also just felt like, what's the point,
Yeah. So we should probably talk about the other matches. I guess Vekic going 3 against Blinkova. For a while, like her clay court run on that court, or I guess in that venue, was kind of in jeopardy. But she's not been talked about much this year because her form hasn't been like anything noteworthy. But she's in that section with what section was she in again? Was it the Svitolina section? Yeah.
That's the main problem. That like achieving the 3rd round is very doable for all players in there, but then the question is whether you can beat Svitolina. And well, some name Elina as a dark horse even for the title. And given the kind of draw that she got, I have to say she's in the mix.
Yeah.
Today, of course, beating friend of the show Zeynep Sonmez 6-1, 6-1. Someone who did not have it that easy, though, was Jasmine Paolini, who lost a set to UA1. What a pleasure it was to see the ball striking of the Chinese, just even for patches, be like it was last year at the beginning of the season. I think, when on, she's definitely one of my favorite players to watch in the WTA. Didn't quite get it done. Of course, Jasmine has a lot of options to extend the point, to potentially knock her off that purple patch a little bit. I think there were definitely moments when it's just like if Yuan doesn't have to play one more shot, she probably wins the point. She probably wins the game, and we probably still have a match on our hands. But nonetheless, that was a dangerous moment for the for last year's finalist and Rome champion.
Yeah, definitely the first 6 games of the 3rd set as well were like pretty dicey. Like Paolini needed to find something kind of a little bit extra to get through this match, which was like extending the rallies, like using her movement and then looking for a ball to kind of attack on. But it was tough because Yuan was taking the ball so early, striking it so well on both wings, and like taking away Paolini's time in some moments, attacking the second serve. So it was like a real battle for the first round, and Paolini will just be like relief to get through it because 3-2, 30 all. Yuan trying to consolidate for 4-2 in the 3rd, and then Paolini just like kind of found a way with all the matches that she's won recently and just like her pedigree and her skill set. So it was a tricky test. I think Yuan last year in February and March was one of the best players in the world. So for her to do this was definitely kind of reminded me of that time.
Yeah, absolutely love her game. I remember being shocked when I watched her in Warsaw live 2 years ago. I was like, "What? This woman is like outside the top 100." And then, of course, she had a big run, but well, it's all kind of sloppy. It's all pretty inconsistent, but the forehand ball striking definitely is right up there. Well, and I was also wondering what sort of like narrative it would be if Paulini lost. Would people just like kind of say, "Oh yeah, so she won Rome, and suddenly there were expectations, and she just didn't like live up to them"? I don't think that was the case. I think she was just getting outplayed for a lot of the match. I don't think 39 unforced errors, by the way, is that much ghosty with the kind of playstyle that she has, over
Yeah.
3 sets against Paulini. Although I guess some of the sets were pretty short. So it's like what, 26, yeah, 26 games, 39 unforced errors. Yeah, I guess she could cut it to like 1 error a game,
Yeah.
and then she'd probably win the match. But 1.5 maybe is pushing it. But yeah, it's really not that horrible, to be honest. What else do we
Well,
have?
I'll tell you for the unforced errors though. Peyton Stearns today was rough
Okay.
because
Yeah, let's
she
talk
hit
about that.
30 in 15 games, so she was averaging 2 per game, and it really felt like that, because for a while it was like 8 games in a row, right, for Eva Lise to start the match, and then like Peyton started to find it towards the end, but I think it was a little too late. Like, and especially on the backhand side, she wasn't making the kind of trades that she was on in Rome, where she was getting it really high and heavy to the other backhand corner, and then finding ways to open her forehand. Like it was tough for her. Like the conditions that she wasn't adjusting very well to like the colder conditions. She wasn't nearly like as physical either. Like I feel like she definitely lacked a little bit of spark and fight, and it was like, yeah, it was a very different Peyton Stearns today than what we saw in Rome. So that was definitely
there was a brief moment when I was like, "Oh, is this another one of these Peyton Stearns matches where she just
she comes back?" Yeah, I think
somehow
genuinely had she broken for 4-5, where she had really good chance looks like 2 or 3 break points, and she missed like an easy forehand on one of them. I was like, if she breaks at this game, she could actually come back here, and you could have like one of those epic Rome type situations. But didn't happen.
Oh Jesus, guys, please don't get into this again. Yeah, Ghosty, I like the term volume hitter. I mean, sure, but I guess that works for so many aggressive players. Yeah, Peyton definitely did threaten that comeback just briefly. I was thinking, okay, is this just gonna be so much longer than it it probably will be. But yeah, indeed, Eva Liz claims it, and that also avoids a second round showdown with Peyton Stearns for Victoria Mboko, who grabbed her first win in her Grand Slam debut. In fact, I believe it's even her Grand Slam debut as a whole, because she never played qualifying before the French. Of course, her ranking has risen like spectacularly recently. And she's like Alicia Parks on steroids in many ways, or like on steroids that don't make you more powerful, but just make you actually hit with margin and be a smart player.
Yeah.
And I mean, she just posted a win over Lulu San, who for some reason was actually pretty decent in the second set, considering her clay pedigree is pretty lacking. And this just makes it even more likely that she might clash against Qin Zheng in the third round, which would be a match for the ages.
That would be very exciting, that match against Zheng, because now I think we're actually going to get it. Like I do really rate her game. Like she's got really good IQ, and like she hits that forehand slice on the stretch on the deuce, which I love that shot. That's what Andreeva also hits, and it allows her to get back into so many points. She's got a really good net game as well. She takes the ball early on the backhand and the forehand. Like there's a lot to like about Mboko. Like she feels like one of the real deals to me, as far as like I think she's gonna rise up pretty quickly. I mean, she already is, but I think like even a step further. Like already the match she played against Coco was already very, very close. And I can't wait for her to maybe play Zheng. Because like Eva Lise is a good story, like good player. She made the 4th round of AO, but I feel like Mboko getting there would give us a much better match against Zheng. So
yeah, it seems like the potential just doesn't compare. Of course, me and Vansh both were very wrong on Alicia Parks. Let's not do it again. But indeed,
yeah,
it
I
seems
got
like
two.
the dangers are different.
Like her peak indoors, just really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when she won these back-to-back WTA 125s and also played Ostrava earlier, like that was probably my whole sample of her. So I guess,
but like when she won Leon against Garcia, it was like that was
that was later, right? Yeah, that was after we made the big predictions for her.
Yeah. I mean, I still
What-
maintain she has one of the best peaks on the WTA tour, but we
Sure.
probably see it once every 13 months. So
And probably not on clay, where I think she. Well, what was she? What was she? Who was she? Who is she playing here? Oh yeah, Muchova, who of course might not be fit, but we will see. Anyway, another seed that lost today, and also a seed that everybody thought was going at least into the third round, was Marta Kostyuk. Great performances in Madrid and Rome. Has to be so disappointing for her to lose. Sarah Bejlek, young, somewhat talented. I saw Nick tweet about her, and he said something that I did not understand at all, which was just like she has strokes like Kvitova, but she strikes like Ostapenko or something like that.
oh, okay.
I don't really get what
That's probably
that
a
was
bit
about,
much.
because to me that's a very different play style. Like Bejlek is more like, I don't know, Leila Fernandez-ish, Maya Chwalinska maybe. But yeah, she's pretty tricky. She can be pesty. She's a lefty, obviously. And
Well, she takes
Marta
the ball
just
early, so I can maybe see why he would think that. But yeah,
if
she
we were
uses more
talking about, and she's
diagonals
also
and
so small, right? I mean, in terms of her height.
yeah, she was
But-
reminding me a little bit more of the Fernandez Eala mode.
or
rather
a
than
Paulini, like if Paulini was left-handed.
Yeah, because she does extend the points quite well with her defense. She has good angles. The lefty serve is a decent one. She's not that big, but she definitely hits the spots well on the lefty.
Yeah, so
So-
maybe like Yogi says, maybe Bejlek is like a lefty Paulini. That's what I would say, because Paulini
Okay,
also has a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of like
Paulini also
pocket
has-
rocket power, right?
Yeah. But yeah, she's just like the other Czechs in the way that she has a really good ball strike off of both wings and just looks very smooth when she moves. Like the strokes just come very naturally for her.
Yeah, and if we
Um,
were talking about the unforced errors for Yuan being like 1.5 per game, I think for Marta they were definitely above 2 per game.
Yeah, she
And
had over
yeah,
40 errors or something.
Yeah.
It was really rough because she actually started out very, very well. She was up 2-love. She was up 3-2 with chances to make it 4-2. And then from there, I feel like her game just fell apart for like 5, 6, 7 games in a row. And then by then, Belchik was already so confident that she had such a big cushion to finish out the match that like nerves didn't even come into the equation. So that's a really rough one for Marta. Like really rough, because I thought Madrid and Rome were like perfect for her.
Yeah, very strong showings, 2 losses to Sabalenka that were both good matches. And yeah, to just go out with a performance like this. I mean, I can totally understand how Bejlek frustrated her, but still, it's a player who's like primarily defensive, let's say, and is just gonna like ask the question many times, and Marta many times failed to respond. I know the meaning that you're referring to, Ghosty. I would say it's yeah, probably still not too international, but I know what you it makes me a little like indifferent as in whether I should say the phrase or not. But anyway, I still do it because I think it describes what I was trying to say quite nicely. Has Bejlek done anything before that? I mean, in the juniors, she's had a lot of tremendous achievements. I think she played Rybakina close once. Last time she played Roland Garros, so 2 years ago, she also qualified and made the main draw. But yeah, definitely her proudest moment so far in her pro career to get this win, even if Kostyuk was just a total mess as well. And yeah, just didn't handle a player who I guess didn't really have like anything unique on the day. It's still a play style that like we've seen before, but Marta just wasn't ready for it whatsoever. What else? So Fernandez, whom we mentioned a couple of times for no reason, lost to Danilovic. And I guess the only
Not very
thing
surprising though, right? Like the loss isn't very surprising. Maybe the scoreline is very rough.
just the extent, yeah.
But yeah, but Danilovic, we might get the rematch with Collins from last year, which was a good one. So that's something. She's obviously in the Sabalenka section, but I like her game on clay. She made a final of Rouen, right, and pushed Svitolina this year. So that's where I thought she was playing some really good tennis. Also in Australia, she has that heavy forehand, lefty power, and she takes the backhand pretty early. She can like really flatten it out. Honestly, she looked like a better version of Fernandez to me the whole time today. So yeah, I know. I mean, like I like her game a lot. She can probably get to the third round against Sabalenka, and it wouldn't surprise me because I can see her giving Collins problems again.
Well, I mean, she's like, what, 50-50 against Collins, probably. She was a
Yeah.
favorite against Layla today. Yeah, definitely. As I think I said on maybe the Iga Carlos episode that we did, that I was a little disappointed when she lost to Zheng so like meekly in Rome. But then in hindsight, that obviously started looking like a little bit better. Such a fascinating career as well, winning a WTA title when she was like, what, 17 in 2018, and then really taking a while to find her peak. But I do think she's probably here to stay now. And yeah, the win itself, definitely not a surprise. Maybe only the extent of it. Schneider was struggling for a while with Sobolyeva. I think both of us were really, really high on Diana's chances. I mean, obviously not enough to like change our minds yet, but maybe something to watch out for in the next few rounds. I think Jake at the very beginning of the stream was asking about some Zheng thoughts. I personally didn't see that much against Pavlyuchenkova at all. I think it was very early in the day, so I'm assuming you didn't either.
Yeah. No, I didn't see it, but I didn't think. Looking at the flash score thing, there weren't that many like moments of jeopardy. So I guess I don't know if I really learned like that much.
Yeah, Yogi, can you tell us more about this? I'm not sure what you're referring to, unless you know, Vansh.
No, I don't. I actually don't.
Okay.
So what's it about? Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm trying to see if there's anything more we should talk about on the women's side. I mean, I didn't watch Potapova Noskova, but that's a match that I guess I regret I missed. Definitely looking at how it went. Potapova winning from 3-5 down in the third, I believe.
Yeah, actually, I was too focused on the Shelton Sonego, like the sets, the set that Sonego won, that I missed the end of that. But I saw like some parts of the second set, and it was just like, yeah, there weren't any like patterns or anything that I picked up on. But little disappointing definitely disappointing for Noskova, actually. Probably should have come through it.
Yeah, totally. And then also, I guess Kvitova losing is, well, deserves a mention, but I don't know how high your expectations were at this stage.
Not
She
really.
did
I had
back
Golubic beating her,
recently,
so.
but yeah.
I thought Golubic was the favorite going in. So
the bookies didn't agree, but I did agree with you actually as well. That's probably because I just love Golubic's one-hander, but still. She gestured for people to stand up after converting her MP, maybe to her team, but it looked really agitated. Okay. Who is she playing again? I have to check, to be honest. I forgot. Oh, yeah, Zarazua. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. It's a win you'd expect her to get. So yeah, not really sure what this was about. Yeah, I didn't see a ball from this.
Me neither. But it was 4-all in the third, and then she won like 7 of the last 8 points, I think. But it was like tough for a while because Zarazua is kind of like that classic WTA 125 specialist.
Yeah, I might play Rybakina now, which of course would be a rematch for Australia, I believe. And yeah, that basically is it. I think the last like 5-10 minutes we can just dedicate to whatever you are the most excited to watch tomorrow.
Yeah, so tomorrow obviously we have...
It's a massive day as well, right? I mean, I think it's even more matches than today.
Yeah, there's definitely more on the slate. I guess on the women's side, I'm interested to see what happens in Osaka and Badosa. That's probably the match of the day. And hopefully I'll be awake in time to catch it. Because there's still there's question marks for both players. You know, Osaka how does she respond after the Stearns tough loss and the good form, those 7 matches in a row that she won, and then also Badosa, who looks healthier again and did better in Strasbourg. So how do they match up against each other? Actually, to be honest, have they ever played? I don't think I don't think they've ever played each other. So we don't have
No,
any.
I mean,
Like,
Paula, no, they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I see the bookies have Naomi as a slight favorite. Yeah, probably. Probably I agree with that.
But yeah, I'm siding with that too. I think just her improvements on clay the last few years, the ballerina dancing, it's all working towards something. But obviously Badosa is very dangerous, either surface really. I think she's a former junior champion as well at this event.
Yes. Yeah, she wouldn't.
Yeah. Also, the big question is, I guess, will Tomljanovic smoke a joint, or will joint smoke Tomljanovic?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's actually not really a big question. I mean, Maya beat her by retirement in Rabat, so I guess you would expect her to win. Looking at the women's slate, and yeah, Osaka Badosa is like the clear standout. Well, some will
I'm
be
actually
interested
gonna have my
to see
eyes
if
on
Ostapenko
Ostapenko.
survives.
Yeah,
I was just gonna
Ostapenko
say that.
Kudermetova. I think that's the one I'm gonna be looking to see if Yelena looks like she's motivated and like, is it a Yelena match where she just makes 50% forced errors, or is she actually like determined to come through it?
Yeah, it's interesting as well. Sorry, what? Sorry, I got lost. What? Oh yeah, Ostapenko. I mean, I don't even know if she's playing the lesser or the greater Kudermetova right now. I don't know if it even matters. Like either Kudermetova, Ostapenko can
He's
definitely.
playing the Brisbane one, the Brisbane finalist.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if she's the greater or the lesser Kudermetova right now.
Yeah,
Is what I'm
actually,
trying to say, right?
oh,
It's
that's true. Yeah, who is
the
the better?
balance is just not clear there.
Yeah.
Veronica is playing Tomova, of course, also tomorrow.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess the women's side that there's really just like one standout that really is going to make the day or break the day maybe if it doesn't deliver. Of course, there might be some massive upsets. We have a couple of favorites starting like Świątek. So if she loses, that would be a major story. If I guess if Rybakina loses after Strasbourg, also maybe less so with Madison Keys, but still a matchup that I am pretty interested about in. Keys Saville, she actually beat Madison, but 2017 on clay. So yeah, I guess it's been a while. But yeah,
I guess also I would shout out Tossin in the net.
Okay.
I think that could be a good match. They haven't played each other yet, and I'm interested in it because Tossin and Anisimova is a potential round 3. So and the net is tricky. So no guarantees Clara gets through that.
And then on the men's, it's a Sinner plus Alcaraz day. Are their matches particularly interesting? Not really. Sinner is playing Rinderknech in the night session, which, you know, today it really worked out for Roland Garros, right? They got a 5-setter in the night session. But Sinner Rinderknech might be like, what was it, Sinner Miller? One of these last few years that was also so short. And of course, Ruud is also starting the event. So there's definitely a few players that can go deep. But their matches are not the ones that are most exciting. So what are you like watching out for tomorrow?
Probably Jari versus Face.
Okay.
That's definitely an exciting one, just to kind of see how Face handles the occasion, and is he able to get his first win at RG with all the pressure and spotlight on him. He's a big favorite in this match according to the bookies, but obviously, we know Jari, what he's capable of when he's fit and firing at his best. And then obviously, also I'm looking at the slate. I mean, Altmaier Fritz. I'm kind of just curious about that one. Altmaier with the 2 upsets over Sinner and Berrettini, and Fritz coming off of 2, 3, 4 months of not good form at all. So that's definitely one to circle. Alcaraz Zepieri, sure, yeah, just because any Carlos match is just going to be entertaining no matter what. But I don't think I'll be up early enough actually to catch the start or at least the first 2 sets of that. But sure, I'll tune in if I'm awake on time. Sinner Rinderknech doesn't excite me at all. So probably,
yeah, no, that's
not gonna
probably the
one.
worst match of the day, to be honest. I don't see how it can be exciting at all.
Finally, Wawrinka maybe.
Decent story. I kind of tend to think that Jacob will be just a little too much physically in the long run in best of 5. Like his game just kind of accentuates all the stuff that Wawrinka has lost. But I suppose it's fine. I'm very excited to see how Yamas Ruiz does against Davidovich Fokina. Like I think it might actually be much closer than people expect. Just both so crafty, both so up and down and a bit crazy. I think that's a good combination between them for sure. Misolic is like one of these guys who I think has a major chance of making the third round here. So I kind of want to see how he does at first. Maybe Fran Cerundolo struggles for a little bit against Diallo. There's also that Cerundolo Grigspor potential second round that I guess I want to like be watching out for if that happens. Yeah, Darderi Korda, we mentioned that. That could be a very important match like for the future rounds as well. Simply because if Darderi wins this, I think he has a very good shot at making the 4th round. I would be less maybe certain about Sebi.
Yeah. Speaking of Sebi, how about the other Sebi taking on Kecmanovic? I feel like that's.
Yeah, I'm not watching that. Sorry.
I feel like that will be a 5-setter, and we'll probably go the distance with like Sebi being a slight favorite, right? But like not by a much, right? Because he's in that Runa section, right? I believe so. Like potential Runa round 3. And if he wins this, he'll play Hadis because he hasn't made a third round here, and in general, he's been underwhelming in European clay swings. So wonder if this is the year that he actually gets to the third round. But yeah, maybe that's not like too much of a story, but could be a close match.
Yeah, and then also Altmaier Fritz. Did we mention that?
Yes, Altmaier Fritz is
we
definitely one that I'll be watching along with Jari and Fils.
Yeah, I think
Like,
Altmaier has posted some amazing wins, obviously, at Roland Garros before.
Yeah. He kind of plays his very best tennis at RG. And then he does have some form in the Turin Challenger, right? Like he beat Kaboli there. He beat Cerundolo, one of the Cerundolos. The Juan Manuel, obviously. Yeah. Wouldn't have been Fran.
Yeah. I think that's more or less it in terms of what's interesting tomorrow. It's definitely a bigger day, like numbers wise. For me, like from my perspective, I think it might be slightly less interesting than what I watched today. But who knows? Of course, it's a Grand Slam. Every time, a big story might pop up when we don't expect it. Maybe outside of Sinner Rinderknecht, but we'll see. And yeah, indeed, that Badosa Osaka match seems to be the biggest thing out there tomorrow. So we will definitely have a watch along for that. There's going to be a Last Ball Drop show as well. So make sure to check out, whether we have, we will have these two things, and make sure to check them out tomorrow. Yeah, thank you, Vansh, for this recording. Thank you to everybody who showed up in the chat. Sorry, Ghosty, for your Peyton Stearns loss, but at least you had Rome. There's going to be more coming for her definitely in the future. So yeah, just once more, I guess. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks to everybody, and thanks to the comments in the chat. And yeah, these LBDs usually do pretty well. So I'm sure we'll have many more.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.